Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. We are back from Bug. um, wow, what a hellish day! It was absolutely hellish. Now, some of you are probably wondering why I'm doing a hangout with the results like this. Well, the you're gonna know in a little bit here, but ultimately, originally I had planned on doing a produced video with all the results, and then do a hangout with the live with the walk of the line. I'm going to do the walk of the line now because, and you'll find out why. Um, Basically, towards the end of the day, we ran out of daylight and the weather was getting worse. And because I got the day I wanted, I'm going to say that first. I got the day I wanted. I got a completely overcast and generally crummy day, which is exactly what we needed. But there were a couple of spots of sunshine, and it's actually kind of funny. You'll see this in some of the footage I'm going to present today, where, like, certain portions of the test range had received sunlight while we, right around the time we started aligning things. And I'm echoing somewhere.
That was mine.
Okay. And it was really kind of neat to see, like, some parts of the test range, prior to where the sun was, crystal clear. And then beyond that, it was all, kind of messy and goopy and stuff. It was really kind of cool. But ultimately, the cloud cover prevailed, and we were able to keep going. Now, before I thank anybody else, the first person I want to make sure that I thank here is my son. My son went up and down this range at least 5 times, doing the alignments while I was on the camera, and doing the just doing the markings and all that other stuff. And he even went with me on all of the checks because we had some problems in the middle. And he was with me for every step of that. And I mean, literally, my son went with me and went also by himself up and down this range, like I said, at least 5 times, as far as I can remember. It might have even been more. Second of all, obviously, I want to thank Gio for setting up the live stream. Now, I kind of skimmed through the live stream. I haven't watched it. And the only parts of it that I was in were parts where either I was standing next to the table doing alignments and I was listening to the live stream on my chat, unless somebody was asking me a question, or on my tablet. Or when I was chiming in from the end of the test range, because I couldn't get Gio up on his chat, on his Hangout chat, to get me an answer on something. So, so that's why I was diving in at the end. And actually, that was actually kind of a beneficial shot for all the information I'm about to give you, because of the fact that we saw that post 16, the water never really it barely got up into the tube. So that was a little bit disappointing. And so what I ended up having to do was, we did our markings from post 13, which means I cut 300 meters off of the test, because of the fact that, I couldn't lower the ground to get the water to go up so I could put the backboard on it. So that really kind of sucked, and I was really, really angry about that. But, nevertheless, that's what we did, because I also want to thank Surf Perzel and her dude. They came all the way down from Berlin to be part of this test, and they didn't just come to watch. They came and they did a lot of work. When they got there, we had just started laying out the pipes, and they were pretty much instrumental in keeping that effort going. While I was connecting them, they were pulling the pipes from position to position, and that was really cool. Now, I had invited Surf Perzel to be on here this evening, but she's got much more pressing family issues to take care of. So unfortunately, she wasn't able to make it. I also want to thank the dude out there. His name was Scientist. He was with me the entire way of connecting and filling up the pipes. That was a big help. And as far as filling up the upright pipes, that was an incredible amount of work that we had to do. But we all had fun doing it. We were all out there in the rain, in the wind. It was generally just dismal outside, but that was what we needed. And so everybody who came out, just all were very instrumental in getting this taken care of. And also, if it wasn't for scientists, my car would probably be still sitting out there because the tire wrench that he had in his car worked, whereas mine bent while on the fifth nut that I was trying to take the tire off. For anybody who didn't catch it, I blew a tire while I was out there. But so we had all that going on, and like I said, and I kind of nudged this at Sean, and just because I had to. Oh my God, am I happy that we had that bucket out at each connection point? Because one of the things that's the nature of this very test is the fact that water seeks its own level, quote unquote, and so therefore, if I'm at a position that is higher than the water level at the position prior, the water is going to want to rush, to a lower level. And had I not had that bucket, this test wouldn't even have gone anywhere, because of the fact that when I pulled little stoppers that I had off the pre-filled tubes, when I pulled the stoppers off, I can actually watch the water level in the bucket, depending on where we were, either rise or fall. And so it was a very interesting time. But so we did all that. We got the rollout done. Then let's see. I mean, my day started at 4:00 in the morning yesterday, and we got on site at 8, and we probably started getting all the building and connecting done just prior to 10:00. And because we had to plan out everything, walk the line again. I had to. I actually rode out on a little 2-wheel roller, and with the measuring stick, the measuring wheel, to mark off the positions so we could dump off all of the pipes and the ground pipes at each position. So it would be that much easier. We just walk out to it, pull it out, connect it up, and then walk on to the next one. And that in itself took a little bit of time. Now, I mean, everything basically worked with the setup and with the alignment. I'm sorry if the little bit that I skimmed through the live stream, aside from being, moderated by Sean's awesome voice and what do you call it, and Gio's car broadcast. Aside from being moderated and all that, it was done really well. But unfortunately, we didn't really have anybody there designated to do any live stream filming. So about 80% of it was looking at the corner of my table, looking down the actual range. So I'm sorry if it wasn't that entertaining as far as the video footage went, but I think we covered the pertinent points during the alignment phase. And a couple of the issues that we were having. I hope everybody was quite satisfied with that. Oh, by the way, there is here's a race for you guys to my moderators in the chat. There's a lying idiot in the thing there. His name is I know you know I know.
Yeah, it's a Wake Souls sock account.
Oh, that's Awake Souls.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why he was being a bitch. Get rid of him, as in mute him off my channel. Get him off here.
Bye.
Because I don't like bitches like that.
Just for clarity, that was me that deleted you from the channel, Awake Souls.
Because he was trying to say, let me just throw a little thing in there. There's actually a thread. Now, I don't know if this actually affects that thread, this muting off the channel. But what do you call it? But if it does, then you won't be able to read it, but you won't miss anything because I screen capped the whole thing. He claims that he did, but wouldn't show it to me. He had actually said that I had deleted a comment of his, having some, I guess, apparently some reference to what's going on. And he said that I had deleted a comment of his. Now, guess what, Sean? You and I have done this research.
Yep.
If the user can't see it, then what happened to the comment?
If the original user that posted it can't see it?
As far as I'm aware.
I've never run across that. Even on channels I'm blocked on, I still see my own comments.
Right. Thank you. Well, you're getting closer to it. But what happens? What would be the case if the user who wrote the comment can't see it?
Then he deleted it.
Thank you. And because that is the only result. Sean and I have done that research. We've done a couple of hangouts on that. He was claiming that I deleted a comment of his, but he himself couldn't find it. He also claimed that I deleted it quote unquote several hours after my after I released after I ended the live stream on Friday night about the pre-test or the pre-show, should I say. He said that I deleted it several hours after that. Well, I'm sorry. That stream ended in the evening time, actually late evening time, my time, after which I went to bed. So unless I was YouTubing in my sleep, he's a lying sack of shit. So that was Limitless channel, you said, or Awake Souls?
That was Awake Souls.
Awake Souls. Yeah, well, Awake Souls. If you guys happen to notice Awake Souls coming in with another sock account and stuff like that, get rid of that too. I give you all my wrenches out there. I give you 100% permission to do that. I don't want to hear him. I don't care what he has to say. But never mind. So what I'm going to show is, okay, now for some of you who just want to recap, now this was the original plan that I had put out. Now shove this whole thing about 50 meters, maybe 75 meters southwards. We actually had the table set up about here. As a matter of fact, let me take this overlay off of there. We had the table set up right even with this tree. We decided that we're going to use the tree as a marker so we can refer to it in other things like Google Earth. And and right here is where Geo ended up moving his car. This creek you can't jump over.
Well, Geo can't.
Well, no, nobody can jump over this one. But back over here, it kind of thinned out as it went along. And unless you wanted to walk all the way back here to this bridge, you had to jump over one of these spots. So, what do you call it? But nevertheless, that was where we had the table set up, and that was 100 meters out from post 0, and so on and so forth from there. Now, the information that we were going on originally from Google Earth is that this was going to be entirely possible. Okay, now we do know that, and we've always known that post 0 was going to be actually the lowest point. We knew that from the get-go. It was actually about right here where the arrow is on the screen. Actually, let me make sure that I am present to everyone so that when Sean starts typing, it doesn't dive out. Now we knew that this was the lowest point, so this was actually the point that we wanted to make sure that we filled from, because obviously we would want to be at the top of the pipe, or at least close to the top of the pipe there. Now we also learned throughout this, even more so than it even shows here, is the big hill in the middle. When I was going through alignment process, I actually had to have my son pick up the alignment thing, the alignment board. I had to have him pick that up so I could actually see it. Now, on the alignment board, there actually is a small plumb bob. So even if it was picked up and leaned from one way to another, it showed him exactly where the stake had to go. So that's why the alignment went so good. That, and also the awesome optics of the P1000. Now, for all the people who said something about I should have had a theodolite, I should have had a theodolite, blah, 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 I'm not going to be able to get a straight line. First of all, that's crap. However, I would like to say that there would have been maybe some adjustments made to this test if I had had a theodolite out there to tell me the actual height differences, because these were slightly off. Okay, so somebody out there, a trained eye, not just me going out getting a theodolite and thinking I'm knowing what I'm doing with it, but actually a trained eye on a theodolite would have told me that the distant end from about the halfway point on was definitely higher, a lot higher than we had anticipated. That's why we got no water to the last 3 pipes. Or excuse me, we got water, but it barely even got up to the bottom of the upright pipe. So that was a problem. We also had a leak. We had 2 leaks at one point. Those were way back here towards the beginning. I believe they were they were on the ones before the bush. So in this case, it would have been at 3, and then there was one on the other side, which was on 4. There were actual leaks in the pipes. At the plastic joint ended up being the problem there. So I have some of that rather expensive wrap-up tape for fixing water leaks, and it's a very elastic, really cool tape, and but nevertheless for that very purpose. And so we were able to get that. But when we had Surf Persil's dude, he was the one who was over here at Post Zero, just pumping water in, until we started getting results. And yeah, that was unfortunately it didn't. The last two or three pipes, like I said, never received water higher than the base of the pipe, so that was a problem. So I had to cut, like I said, 300 meters off of that to get a usable height that where water was actually going up the pipe where I could put the backboard on it. So let's see, what else did I want? I threw together a couple of notes so I could just clear my brain on everything first. Let's see, light placing for vertical. Yeah, no, couldn't get on. Okay, I just said that. Let's see. Now, the clips, as far as the clips that we were supposed to have on there, which was what I wanted ultimately for the end result, we ended up not having the time to do that, because if we would have done actually those clips, if we would have taken the time to do those clips at the end of the day, then it would have been too dark to even photograph it. So a decision was made between myself and Geo that they were going to start packing everything up at the OP, and I was going to do the walk the line and then do my water level measurements from the markings that were made by my son. So I mean that's what ended up being that. So ultimately, the reason why I'm doing this here is because I was not able to complete all the objectives in the amount of time. It just the day got away from us because of we had to go searching for leaks, and that literally took like 2, maybe even 3 hours to find them. Because one of the interesting parts about this is that everything along this was set up on grass. So if you have water leaking out of anywhere, you're not going to notice because it's going to go into the grass. It would be different if we had it, like on the bike path or something like that, which would have been horrible anyway. But then you would actually see, water pouring out of somewhere. So ultimately, between the time that we did the markings and the time that I actually walked the line, which was probably about an hour, the problem that we ran into was the water level in the pipes dropped. And we did not get a chance to finally ascertain where that actually took place. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play in the background here, and then we're going to annotate what the height drops were from the markings. And now, hold on a second. So I'm going to go ahead and play this. Like I said, I'm not going to play any audio because all you're going to hear is wind, really. You couldn't even hear my voice in the background when I was trying to talk. This was at the point that I started filming here. That scientist right there who's just jumping over the creek. They had pretty much cleared everything off of the table. And that was where we parked. So what I decided to do is, like I said, I am going to go over and walk the entire line. Now, the entire line walk does take a little bit of time. Trust me on that. And hopefully this will give you some appreciation for what it means by having to check things and do the entire walk. I did not have my gimbal on at this time because I wasn't going to go dig it out of the car. So I'm actually, I'm filming this in hand, walking at, at my speed. And plus, another thing that was starting to happen, you'll see a couple of times in here where these kind of wind gusts were coming over the berm. Because the wind gusts were coming over, they started pushing the poles around a bit. Now, here's something that I just like to show you. This was just in hand, so I'm sorry about that. And I'm a little bit offset from the center, but you can see how beautifully everything lined up. Now, Sean, were you able to see this in the live stream? How when Geo had showed me getting like the last 2 or 3 of them in place?
I noticed they fanned a little bit, but they were in a straight line.
Yeah, 100% in a straight line. And then my son walked down it again to bend them left and right to make sure that they were also completely and perfectly upright. what do you call it? Like I said, I can't thank my son enough. He did so much work on this. Now at the beginning of this right here was the lead marker. This was the marker that was actually 1 centimeter below the water line at post 0. Now I did that as just that was a solid marker that did not require a mark on the pole because of the fact that that was the other point of the cord. The beginning point of the cord was of course the blinking light down at the end, which you'll see here. Well, once we get a little bit about halfway down, you can see it with this camera. And plus, the footage is a little bit crummy because you can see how dark it was. Even though I'm sure above the clouds we had nice strong twilight. Actually, I don't think even at this point the sun was even down yet. But nevertheless, I had this much fun to do this, and so filming it turned into be kind of a pain. So let's get on up to the first one here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to annotate these as we go so we can actually get the information live, because I did look at a couple of them and I got a couple of the numbers down, but we're going to look at them all together. Now this was the problem. That marker, oops, sorry. Didn't mean to hit that button. Now the water level, when I put this marker up, was 1 centimeter above this line.
Mm-hmm.
It was a centimeter above it. Now, if you want to look at this, watch where the water level ends up being. I was pissed. I'm actually yelling, and it's a good thing you probably couldn't hear me. Now, the water level ended up being, now hold on, all the way down there. That's the water level right there. Now, that in itself is probably about, I would say, about 11, well, I'm guesstimating, and I'm actually going to get a more solid measurement because I have this marker out in the car, and I can reference it to find out exactly where this was, because I didn't measure this.
Did you miss a leak somewhere?
That's the only thing that I can come up with. But by the time I walked the line, it was actually dark, so there was no way I could find out even where the leak was. And we had leak problems like through most of the day, but we couldn't. Well, in the very beginning, we didn't. We actually had everything up. Everything was rolling. Everything was going great. We were even having problems because post 0 and post 1, well, 0, 1, and 2 were so low, and we were putting these together and then laying down the upright pipes because obviously I didn't want them upright yet because of the fact that we had to align them, and but we were having a problem of all the water kept on getting sucked down towards post 0 and post 1, and we because of how low they were. So I had the guys, they were actually putting the upright posts up on the berm, so as to keep the water level high enough as we increased in altitude. So that was kind of a pain in the butt, but that's where the water level ended up, and I do not know why. Now obviously that means that there was a leak somewhere, but I have no clue exactly where it was. Now, so like I said, post 0, there's no solid measurement. I will get a measurement out for this because like I said, I have the thing out in the car. But oh, by the way, don't hire Geo for your moving services. The way my car got packed back up, that was fucking crazy, man. But nevertheless, they packed everything back up, and plus Geo and Scientist were real good about getting everything. They started from the beginning. Now, at this point, I wanted to walk back to go get the measuring device for the wind and the temperature and all this. But as you can see, it is generally crummy the entire way. And you'll see that the only thing that would have happened if wind was actually playing a part in this is the water would have actually been pulled upwards. And you're going to see that wasn't the case. So, yeah. But walking on to the next one here, this is post 1. And who was it that said that I had like stoppers in the top of the pipes?
That would be Awake Souls and Limitless.
Oh, well, they can kiss a dick then. Those were just nothing more than microphone sponge heads with a rubber band And even then, you can see the hole where the hook is in them. So it doesn't even work anyway. Now,
just a second. Unbiased observer, who I suspect might be a sock account, you need to pay attention. They didn't find the leak because it was dark.
Who's unbiased observer?
I think it's either an Awake Souls or Limitless sock account, but I can't verify that. I've never seen that name before, so I don't know if it is, but it sounds like it is based on what his past messages were.
Let's see.
So unverified.
No, I don't know, but to answer your question directly, a leak. Now here's the interesting part. A leak in the system is just going to offset the heights in general across the entire strait. A leak will not or should not affect one specific location only. Same thing is as if I think there were discussions about me heating, as a way for me to fake this, I would heat up the water in one or two spots and all this. That would make an effect across the entire test. It would not be local, because that was the point of this, is to have all these things connected. So this drop is this drop, and that's just how it happened because of the leak. Now I spoke to my son, and he said that they were up when he was making the markings, and then afterwards they were down. So we that's, inside of an hour of that much of a leak, that's a pretty decent leak somewhere. We don't know exactly where, like I said, because as you'll see, by the time I get done with this walking the line, I'm actually walking with a flashlight. Okay, it was because it was that close to being, just dark. So now this was post 1. Okay, and this is where I start breaking out the ruler. Now, because I wasn't anticipating this to happen, what I probably should have done in hindsight was actually had my son mark the water level at each point as well when he left the post. Oops. I was trying to get it to go right. Okay, so this ends up being 11.5. Okay, so we have 11.5. Now let's just keep on going. I think at one point, yeah, there we go. I even pulled the top off the damn thing. So as to answer whoever it was that had the complaint about, whoever it was that had the complaint about the tops of the posts. So walking out to the next one, because just to remind you, there's 100 meters, a little over 300 feet between each one of these, and there's 16 or 17 of them, 16 stretches though. Then I remembered that I was supposed to be filming the actual pipe, but there's what do you call it? Even then, it's dark, it's grassy, and the tubes are clear, so it almost defeats the purpose. So the only thing I'm showing you is that there's no stoppers and no knots. Because if I would have sat there to the critical eye and actually put my camera down onto that thing and walked it centimeter for centimeter, I'd probably still be out there filming it. Now, this was the location. No, this wasn't it. The next one was the one where we found the leak. Now, this one, strangely enough, this one's not as low.
But the black mark was the original water line, or was that the cord line?
No, that's the cord line. Now, this one right here is 8.5. Now, for any curvature measurement and stuff like that, the contrast between that and post 1 is rather great. Actually, too great. So something was going on there. And then one of the problems that my son did say, though, is when he was doing the alignments, the posts kept on blowing around. Mm-hmm. So while he was actually holding on to things, it was a little bit difficult for him to get some of the measurements. But even then, you're going to see that one right there, was actually in itself some kind of anomaly. I don't know why. I wish I had some intermission music. Yeah, my girl actually tapped into the live stream a couple of times, and she was like, "Man, it just sounds like everybody's arguing with each other." And she tried to read some of the chats, and she just said, everybody just sounded so abusive." And I said, "No, that's just what this is." Now, this one right here, you're going to see. Oops, yeah, see that red tape all over that thing?
Yep.
This was one. Oops, let me back it up there. Oops, my bad, too far. Let me walk back up on it again. Now that red tape down there on the connector is that was leak control. That is that super expensive tape.
Right.
It's the it seemed like the plastic connector itself leaked a lot. And if it wasn't the plastic connector, maybe some of the silicone that I had used around the plastic connector going up to the upright tube might have had a way through. I'm not a positive on that, but that thing was actually put in place a lot earlier. I think that was one of the resulting leaks that we had found when we walked the entire line trying to find out why filling up post zero kept on going down. And we wanted to find out why that was, and this seems to have been one of those. But we had actually, I had actually taped that all up, and that tape is outstanding, by the way. So now you're going to see this one, and put it down at level. Now this one is back at 11. Now remember, post 1 was 11.5. Post 2, for some reason, was 8.5. Okay, but this one's back at 11. And then on to the next one. So you think level is a radius and not an angle like a bunch of damn fools. Huh? That doesn't even make sense because level isn't a radius. I don't know, that's an awfully odd comment. And by the way, your caps lock is stuck. You might want to think about getting a new keyboard, like the one that Sean has or that I have, and Geo hates because we are non-gamers.
Well, what's funny is I'm reading the description on his channel because I thought it might have been a Oaxels sock, which it's not.
Mm-hmm.
His description says, "Flat Earth is social suicide, but what a ride." So
Okay.
he's aware Flat Earth is stupid, but he follows it like it's the gospel.
And
I follow it.
I follow it
to
death. Okay, I follow it to disprove it. So, and it's become quite the hobby. Wait. I got it. M2 Fletcher. How long was the pipe on the ground? 16 measures of 100 meters. Anyway, let me go ahead and put this one together. Okay, this one was at, what was that? Just a little over 9, right? So that was post 4. Now we are, as we we started getting real happy saying that we were beyond the bushes or we were closer to the bushes. There's this big tree bush set there that you had to actually go around, and we were using that as a visible measuring point. When somebody asked you how far away you were, you say, "Oh, I'm about halfway to the trees or halfway to the bushes." It was kind of funny. But then, right about when we were connecting up the poles, right about this point was when Surf Persil showed up, and then, like I said, her and her dude, man, they jumped right in and helped out, and I thought that was awesome.
Did you check any of those bushes for Bilu, by the way?
No, Bilu speaks Portuguese, man, not German.
I'm just going to shout out Playtime for reminding me of Bilu in a bush.
No, we did no looking in the bushes for Bilu. Okay, so this one a pretty clean 9 to 9.5. Now, I forgot to ask my son, or actually, I haven't been in much contact with my son yet today because he's
Wait,
been sleeping.
back that up
Where?
to the last poll where you
The
said
last-
9 to 9.5.
Okay.
And the black line was the chord line, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to re-verify that because I'm starting to see a little pattern here.
Yeah.
Except for the discrepancy with poll 1.
Pull 2.
Because 0 was 11 centimeters down, right?
Well, 0 has no measurement.
Oh.
Zero was the original marker for the chord.
Okay.
What do you call it? 1 was the 11.5. 2 was 8.5 for some reason. 3 was 11. 4
Actually,
was,
I have a hypothesis on poll 2.
okay.
Because by the time you did your measurements, the wind had been playing around with them, and they might not have been perfectly level or perfectly vertical anymore.
That's entirely possible.
And if they're leaning over, they're going to read a higher measurement than they should with the water line.
Right. So the water line would have actually been closer to the chord line.
Correct.
Yeah. No, that's a good point.
That's
Hey,
what
Puzzle, how is you?
I was actually going to suggest if you decide to do a rerun of this test, to actually add a little bit more control to it by actually adding something to force those poles to remain vertical through the entire test, like a couple of T-squares.
Yeah, well, I was thinking about that. But I have some more information on that as well. Okay, so let's see here. And now the next one we got is right about 8.
Interesting. So is a rerun a possibility?
A rerun, but modified.
So there you go, Jimbo. It is possible.
Just and you can see the blink light even as I'm walking up to it. See it up here?
Yeah.
So there was also questions of you're not going to be able to see a marking line at that distance and stuff like that. This is zoomed out at night on a less than P1000 camera, and I'm almost halfway there, and I can see the blinking light from here. So, and I know that Surf Purzel made her man eat all those muffins on the way home.
So who was it that dropped the pump, by the way?
What's that?
Who dropped the pump?
Dropped the pump.
Yeah, in the creek or the whatever you're using to pump water.
Oh, well, so I heard somebody had to go in for it, but I didn't really know.
Okay, who dropped it and who went swimming?
Yeah, I was gonna say, Gio, you know something about that, or was that Purzel's
Yes.
dude?
It was Puzzle's dude, yeah, while filling it up.
Okay,
Apparently, he slipped on a stone or something and it fell into the canal.
well, to his benefit or to his credit, yes, the shore of that canal is these like stones that are probably each one of them about a little bit bigger than a softball, and they are not very stable.
Back that up about 3 seconds
Okay.
because that one looks like it's leaned over really bad.
Well, no, this one's not leaned over too bad. I gotta drop the thing a little bit. I gotta get it below there. So that puts it about 6 because you can see the bottom of the stick was actually hanging on the it was hanging on the zip tie, and the water level was about a half a centimeter below the zip tie. At this point, I was just getting frustrated. So I was trying to keep my cool about it, though. I really was. But it's probably a good thing that you can't hear my voice here because I was like, what the fuck is it? And on to the next one. So let's see. That was post 7 then. So let's see. 8. I'm going to start writing these now because 7 was where I had actually stopped prior here. I had stopped there because I wanted to show that you can actually see the blinking light. I could actually see it now in the display in the camera, which I thought was pretty kind of cool. That was still another 700 meters to go. Doom ba doom ba doom ba doom ba doom ba doom ba doom. And then on to the next one. Let's see. What does that say?
And again, I'm seriously leaning towards unbiased observer being in Awake Souls because he's actually not listening to the things that we just got done talking about and then complains about the stuff we just got done talking about. Like we never talked about it.
Well, he's a moron.
No, that's his MO. You know, we just get done talking about adding more controls and he's complaining about there were not enough controls.
Okay, water level is actually here at the zip tie. I'm going to bend the camera here and show it.
And actually, physicists, yes, controls are needed. It's just we weren't expecting, or at least I wasn't expecting to have these things leaning as much as they were.
Right. But, so this is one of those cases. Well, this one I really can't even hardly explain. This one says 16. So we'll just keep on rolling. Because like I said, aside from the occasional anomaly, you know, there might have been a problem in alignment because as we went further, what do you call it? It was actually a little bit less friendly to align. I had noticed that because there was like one or two of them that for some reason I had to tell my son to extend his arm out to get the measurement to actually cover up the alignment light. So that might have been an issue on one or two of them.
Now, can I point out something that's sort of related to the topic of you actually doing this hangout? Why is it flat earthers don't actually do stuff like this and show the results regardless of what they find?
I'll give you two reasons.
Because it's interesting.
One, because they don't do experimentation.
But it's interesting.
And two, because if you don't show the results, you can say whatever you want about the results.
There you go.
You know, you could do a Jeranism, you know, and say that you did this big, massive test that for some reason you decided not to film yourself or produce any results on. Go on to Glowbusters the next day and give all those results saying that it was unsuccessful in every way and didn't give you anything. Then you wait for the next day where somebody actually who was a Glober who was there gives a report that actually a year and a half later is 100% perfect to what was said by a documentary. And because that documentary comes out, you go back and delete all the videos and then say that there was some other kind of result that would actually support Flat Earth.
There you go.
I don't do that. I give results.
Right. Regardless of what the findings are.
Right. And now, like I said, this right here, this test was, it was a success in many ways, but due to whatever the hell was causing these water levels to drop, I am calling it incomplete results. But the cool part is, and before we get to the next measurement, let me just say this. The cool part is, and I've said this before, this was not like a one-time event, like a specific eclipse that's going to happen over a specific location that can be predicted by the Globe model, where this was a once-in-a-lifetime shot and there will be no other shots. No. What people donated to me for and helped me out with and supported in this test was the purchase of the equipment to perform this test. Okay. Now, here's the cool part. All of this equipment right now is still out in my car, minus the cameras. I brought those in. So it's not like this kind of dissolved after today. I can actually go out and improve on this test.
Which is why I brought that point up.
Yeah. And I don't, I really, honestly, I really don't give a shit about people, you know, the idiots who said that I was never going to do this test, that this was a money grab. Well, if this was a money grab, I've never seen somebody work this hard to get money to attempt to probably hide it. Okay.
Well, here's the whole stupid thing about the whole money grab thing. You asked for people to help fund this. Mm-hmm. You bought all of the stuff. You can't resell it for the same price or more.
Oh, hell no.
So if it's a money grab, he's actually losing money in the process.
Yeah, and plus the 700 and something euros worth of plastic tubing alone, just by putting water in them, negates the ability to get rid of those.
Yep.
You know, I might get it. You know, if I wanted to sell the P1000, I might get a decent deal on it, but I would probably still lose about $200-300 on that. So yeah, there was no the only win in this for me was to get this damn test done. And by virtue of a couple of other people's influences and shit like that, now I have a camera that I can use again for other purposes, as far as other tests and all this other stuff. And I already have a couple of ideas that I'm going to be doing on that. But I mean, aside from that, all the rest of this stuff, do you think I'm like rolling around in plastic tubing saying, "Ooh, I got plastic tubing now"?
That's a hell of a fetish.
That's real bad, man. So anyway, continuing on. So this would be post 9. Oops. Post 9 is now at 10.
And yes, I'm going to say that is a sock. Especially since it makes the same spelling errors.
Mm-hmm.
Goodbye.
Where's Wally? Thank you, man. He says, keep the camera. We all need a big Willie. And there was a lot of things that ended up not happening by the time I did this. Putting the clips on, hanging the names on them, on the posts, and all this. Now, like I said, I still have those names, and I will be using them. I thought it was really cool that somebody who had actually bought 2 of the perks didn't want his name on it, but actually dedicated the post to fallen members of the military and specific names, actually. And I thought that was fucking awesome. So, and that's all going to happen. So this one, you can see this one's leaning a bit. Okay, now I got to point out something here. Oh, wow, I went back way too far. There were about 3 of the posts that my son did that the post kind of slipped from him, and he said he wanted to redo them. I'm sure, actually, I think you even heard that on the live stream, that he wanted to redo some of them. And and he told me that the upper marking on each one is the incorrect one. So this is one of them. So that's at 12. That's post 10 at 12. Oops, 1. And off we go some more. Now, unless I'm mistaken, I think the next one is actually the light board. Not positive. Or wait, no, that would, yeah, I got my numbers mixed up here. Last post is going to be post 13. Yes, Maysige. I'm sorry if I screw that name up. That was post 10 of 13, yes. And I actually do go on to film the other ones. They just don't have any water level. They don't have any cord line markings. So that one goes up. Oops. That one goes up to a crazy 15.
Yeah, but it still looks like it's leaning.
Well, yeah.
I'm not sure if that was because of the camera angle you had, or I didn't really pay attention while you were walking up to it.
Right. But I am going to make kind of a interesting observation here, just from the numbers that I'm looking at here. I'm seeing an arc, but
again,
it might be too great.
With the leak issues and the leaning issues, it kind of invalidates results.
No, and I'm totally with you. what do you call it? That's why the next version of this I'm going to do. I'm actually going to steal Dell's idea. I actually am, because the next version of this I'm going to do this without the the separate vertical pipes, and then basically just all of the ground pipes. You know what I'm saying? So that if there is a leak, it'll be only affecting one pipe. So that's at 14. So that was 12 at 14.
Yeah. Just in all fairness, even if it showed a perfect arc with this, I would still say it's an invalid result because of the leak issues and the leak issues.
No, the leak in itself, to me, invalidates, unfortunately, the results.
Right. So this is just the demonstration of the first run, basically. I just say use this to learn from your mistakes, and eventually at some point run it again.
Oh yeah, because right now the outstanding weird marks were on post 8, 7, and 2. So
Professor Games, we're going over the footage that Sly did for his walk the line at the end of the test, and we've discovered some issues that actually need to be addressed before we can before Sly can run this again and correcting for those issues.
Now that upper light is actually somebody riding a bike, I think, up on that pathway. That's not me.
Right.
Now the blinking one on the bottom, that's me. Now you can actually see between the blinks and the hertz of the blink the actual hole. Oops.
Yeah. See if you can pause and back up a frame or two until you can actually get to a spot that it's not lit.
All right, hold on. Let me actually slow it down a little bit.
And by the way, this is called glare.
Yeah.
The light is not that big.
Because the light is coming through there.
That little tiny hole.
This little bitty hole right here.
Looks huge.
Okay, so all of you who do these sunset things and all this other stuff saying the earth or the sun is getting smaller, no. Just the intensity is going down because there's more atmosphere between you and it. And but all that light, even all the way up to the OP, was being seen through this little hole. This little hole is hardly even I think it's 3 millimeters. So yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to point that out because I think glare is really
There
cool
we go.
the way it works.
There's a good shot of it between blinks. And what I had done was I drilled the hole, and then there's a
seriously.
Piece of what's that?
Oh, I think I'm checking if it's the actual Ranty Flat Earth. It is not. It is a sock account.
No. Yeah.
So, sock account automatically hidden on the channel.
Yeah. Bye. Ranty's actual account has some kind of Antarctica or some kind of watery, icy landscape, something. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it doesn't have his face on it. It used to. What do you call it? Which, doesn't bother me either way. It's just that when you come on here with a name with an obviously wrong icon, it kind of lets you know who that is or who it isn't. But anyway, it looks like a U here. And what I did is on the back side, there's a piece of duct tape perfectly even with this because it was kind of difficult to get that hole in there right at the right spot. But there's actually a piece of duct tape through this. And so it only glares through that bottom part there. Matter of fact, you can see it actually a little bit in the glare that it's only halfway up it.
And yes, Yahweh's Daughter is a sock for Awake Souls.
Now,
see, all the Awake Souls sock accounts were made within like a 4-month period. Okay. And it's a real big telltale of who it actually is. So yes.
Exactly, Nana. Exactly, Nana. Glare is caused by chemtrails. But here's what you can see here. Originally, when I had, let me bring this back in one more time. Originally, when I had set this thing up. And the reason why I had to use this post instead of the other 3 beyond it was because of the fact that the water level was not high enough to use. I actually had the board was actually on the ground. And so I couldn't use it. So originally when I had this lined up, the water level was right here below the yellow line. That was where the way it was lined up and to be or designed to be lined up. And once again, in this situation, the water had dropped. So even if we wanted to, even if somebody wanted to say that the markings got screwed up, this right here, this was zip tied into place, and nobody else was down there, and the water level had dropped down to here. I don't recall if I actually dropped a measurement on that, but if not, I have the exact measurements of that board, and we can get that one pretty easy. Let's see if I did. I don't remember if I did. I was just furious at this time. Did I measure it? Come on, Sly, measure it. I was just so mad. But this right here, you know what? My son, he was like, Dad, what if I screwed up your measurements and stuff like that? And I was like, look, if screw ups happen, then screw ups happen. I said they come out kind of obvious on themselves. But he was like, what if I screwed up your measurements? Well, I was thinking about that as I was walking out here doing this. But then I had said to myself, well, it's going to tell me everything I need to know when I get out to that last board if measurements got screwed up.
Yep.
And when I got all the way out here to this board right here and I saw this water level, that was clear to me that no, nobody screwed up here. Come on, Sly, measure it. Measure it. Oh, you bastard.
Still closer. This test was indeterminate because they had a leak and some of the poles got leaned over, which alters measurement.
Oh, yeah, here's me showing the light on the back. And that piece of duct tape I was telling you about. Did I not? You bastard. Okay, hold on a second. I want to see if I can get a measurement out of that. Just give me 1 second. Because the cool part is
you can use your fingers and more accurate measurement than just guessing on the length of the board that's below the water line.
Well, watch this. Oh, shoot. Too close, too close. Oops. Let me walk up to it one more time. Because you see, I know the exact dimensions of that board. I know the spacing of each one of those things. I know the width of everything on there. So I can actually use that. There we go. I'm going to use that. Hold on a second.
Oh, well, the board reminds me of something, Sly. Your measurement on the white vertical line is actually not correct for 1 arc second at 1700 meters.
It's not?
Nope. You were off by you added an extra 0.
Hold on 1 second, man. Oh.
Yeah, me and Gio were talking about that yesterday while you're actually performing the test.
Okay, then all right, so I'm sorry, can you say that again, man?
Me and Gio were actually discussing that while you're setting things up. That white vertical line, you added 1 extra 0 in your calculation. It is actually way too wide for 1 arc second.
Too wide?
Yep.
I wasn't going by wide. I went by tall.
Oh, then you were way off then. Holy Christ, you're way off.
What are you talking about?
So, Sly, so you were making one of the markers for 1 arc second?
From here to here, yeah.
Yeah, you're off by a factor of 100 then, I guess.
Oh, was I?
Yeah, 1 arc second is actually 8.6 millimeters over that distance.
Really?
Yep.
Well, I got that from a website calculator, so
Yeah, like we said, you added too many zeros.
Yeah, so I'm going to I'll take the hit for that. But
what we wanted to tell you about yesterday, but we had all the surprises with the leaks come up right after we were talking about it.
Yeah, well, my intentions were at least there.
Yeah.
But if anything else, I did have all the measurements, and I did produce all the measurements that that people were looking at, so you could have actually gotten the sizes correctly anyway.
Yeah, that's the only measurement we had issue with. It was the arc second in the camera.
So watch this. Okay, I know that this to this is exactly 15 centimeters. Now, and I also know that each one of those horizontal lines is 2 centimeters thick. I also know that that is 1 centimeter. So, and we're saying that I think the water was like right about here. So 15, 14, 13, 12. 12 centimeters. Give or take.
Do that again. Go forward a bit on the video, because I think you get a closer look at the 1 and 2 or the 1 and 2 centimeter gaps.
All right, hold on a second. Why? What are you worried about the gaps for?
Because with this view, you can't really see exactly where the water line is. And I'm trying to get something that's the same scale
It's right here.
with a closer look.
It's right here.
Ah, okay.
As a matter of fact, I think I zoom in on it here. I think. I went looking for it. Oh no, actually, it's lower.
And that's what I'm saying. I think it might be a 2 to 3 centimeter drop
All right.
from the bottom of the board.
So right there, that's probably about 2 centimeters up above the zip tie.
Well, there's your finger. How big is your finger? Because you can use that as a measuring tool.
Well, gosh, Sean, that's a rather personal question.
Well, I'm not asking about your
Other finger.
other finger. Yeah.
From that angle, my finger is about 1 centimeter.
Because it looks like you can fit 2 there, maybe 1.5.
Yeah, so we'll just put it as 2 above here, 2 above the zip tie. And then, yeah, okay, so that actually puts it at 14 centimeters.
There you go.
Because from this spot right here to this line right here is 15 centimeters. The gap between them is exactly 1 centimeter. So, and that would put that right at right there, about 15 centimeters, or 14 centimeters. So at post 13, 14 centimeters. Now, as much as I would love to say that everything kind of arcs towards the middle, which is actually generally, at least in an average sense, consistent. Hey, Forever Learn, thanks, man. The because of the leak and because of the difficulties towards the end there, I can't really produce those results as the accepted results.
Right.
But so just to point that out, hold on. For anybody who wasn't keeping score while we were doing this, these are the numbers that we just did. And actually, visually, it actually arcs too, because it goes from the digits. That's actually kind of cool. But nevertheless, it does arc towards the middle.
It tends that way, but again, we can't use the results there.
The anomalies in the middle, we just really can't do a whole lot with. So I'm going to give it an inconclusive with a global tendance. Which is
can you do me a favor and keep that on screen for a while?
This?
Yeah,
No.
the list.
The measurements.
Yeah, thank you.
Got it?
No, just leave it there.
Well, I need to show more stuff, man.
Okay, I'll take a screenshot. Wait a second.
That's why I was saying, did you get it?
There we go. Okay.
Got it?
Yep.
Cool. All right. So
Yes, Wally, this is definitely proof of concept, which is why I say that the test should be redone after the errors have been found. You know, the leak that wasn't identified, they need to find that. Because, yeah, there was definitely water loss. Big time.
All right, so I'm going to kind of just show through the second part here, because after this I do kind of got to go. This was not planned on being a long hangout, but this here, this was after that post. Oh wait, no, this was me being pissed off. Sorry. This was after the post. Okay, still looking at the lights, and I also wanted to show how much the wind was blowing this stuff around. And then, oh yeah, that was the only purpose of that. I even had to anchor the thing because it was acting like a sail. And then this is where I went on. I actually pulled, this is using the marker light as a flashlight. Bright little fucking flashlight. But anyway, because I don't have any markings on this, I'm just going to kind of skip forward to this. You can also see that it started raining. Moving forward. Did I go too far?
Somebody in the chat says if the Earth were flat, the measurements would be linear, either kind of equally or linearly dropping and ascending. Agreed, but to be fair, in the way that this test is done, it does invalidate any results to say one way or the other.
Now, if you look at this, this is the next post. The water level, I actually put my foot on it. It's like down here. Okay, so I couldn't use this post. And I think I actually showed you live, personally, the post 16, which had nothing that I could use. So let's move it along real quick here. Oops, did I just jump over it? No, I didn't. Okay. Yeah, because I got one before the tree and then one after the tree. Okay, here comes the next one. There it is. Still way down on the ground. I was not able to use that to attach the board to. That's actually laying almost basically horizontal on the ground. And there's the water level down there. And then going up to post 16. Post 16 was the one that I wanted to show the difference in height. I can actually hold the camera up and see almost over the berm with my hand. So when you see the stuff that Gio was shooting out of his car of me standing over at the table, down at the OP, it's a lot higher. And yet it goes along with water level of the canal that it's levying.
Right.
Now this one right here, right there. Now that's the one you actually saw this one in the live stream, because I had a tripod on that one because I wanted that to be the most stable thing that I had.
Physicist has already run the arc on, I'm guessing he plotted it out, and yes, it is way too noisy to be conclusive.
Yeah, but this one, the water didn't even make it up beyond there. Is that
the last pull you actually showed us on stream?
Yeah, that was the one I showed you on screen.
On the stream, it was actually just above the T marker or the T section.
Right. So something is weird about that, and I have no clue how to even comprehend it, other than possibly the tubes before it being up on a higher hill, and therefore the draining didn't occur in this direction, because this one moved like nowhere the whole day. So it was really kind of weird. But nevertheless, I stopped. The reason why I put my camera down is because I started cutting the tubes,
right.
And then that became my thing for the rest of the walk back. So, ladies and gentlemen, what I am showing to you is that while having a tendency for showing curvature, unfortunately, my results were a bit inconclusive because of the fact of, we couldn't find out where the leak was occurring. And so, therefore, between the times that we had everything aligned and everything showed up or set up, it had drained quite a bit. So, and there were some anomalies in the measuring in the middle, but we don't know exactly why that is. Actually, not in the middle. It was on either side of the middle. And so we don't know exactly why that is. It could have had something to do with the wind and all this other stuff. Hey, thanks, Bjorn. I appreciate that, man. I really do. And after this, there was like 2 hours of cleanup, and then we went home. Now, Perzel and her dude, they had to leave a little earlier because they had actually 2 hours longer of a drive than I had to get back to Berlin. What do you call it? But I really appreciated them coming all the way down for that. And even if the only thing I really had to offer them was lunch. So, but they had a great time, and we all had a good time joking around while this was all going on. But I just want to close this out. Maybe I'll put together some stuff of the actual footage that was taken of the alignment process and all this. But that might be at a later date. That was actually supposed to be all stuff that was going to be in the actual production video. But like I said, that's why I did this, because of the results that were yielded. So Sean, I appreciate you moderating most of the live stream. Otherwise, it would have just been people listening to us and that damn loud ass cricket.
That cricket drove me insane, dude.
Yeah, and which Geo thought he could clap away. That was kind of interesting.
I missed.
Well, a slide later, when the scientists and I were folding the tubes,
Yeah.
there was actually one of those crickets directly in our path, and I just screamed at it to shut the fuck up, and it actually did.
Well, anyway, like I said, I wanted to show the results, and as promised, as quickly as possible. I've only been awake after getting home at 2:00 in the morning. I've only been awake for a couple hours now, and I wanted to make sure I got this out for everybody who was supporting and or anticipating these results. Other than that, like I said, I'll put together some information maybe at another time about the raw footage. And the way forward on this is there will be a redo of this test sometime in the future. That way forward will not include the vertical tubes being separate, meaning that the vertical measurements will be made by affixing the ground tubes upwards along a pole, and then another ground tube going on to the next one. So that way, if there is an issue with one particular pipe, it will only affect that one pipe. And then basically fill up the lines. So at each post, the water levels meet, and see where it goes from there. I'd like to thank that idea, honestly, from Dell behind the curve or whatever. And the reason why is because he did that, and it actually worked, and he blamed it on perspective. And so therefore, because he proved the globe, he deleted the video, or at least privatized it. And his dumbass showed that while arguing with me, thinking I wouldn't notice that. So, ladies and gents, that's all I got for you tonight. Sean, Geo, I really appreciate you guys hanging with me on this. And obviously, Surf Persil, all of you guys for helping me out during the actual test itself. Like I said, there's a way forward on this. I'm not going to say when that is yet, because we have no clue right now. I got to recover from this one, because I think even Geo will also say that packing up sucked.
Oh yes.
Well, Geo was well rested though. He had a lot of time sitting in a chair.
Yeah, well, this is true, but no. Even then, a well-rested person would have said that packing this stuff up sucked. So,
well, the thing is, what hurt me the most during the pack up was actually rolling up the hoses.
Yep.
Not like towing them, but just rolling them onto my hands. I think next time I'll bring some working gloves or something.
Yeah, or something like that. Because I cut a big gash in my finger too. But and here I am walking back with a gash in my finger and a box cutter. It almost looked like I came back from killing somebody. It was weird.
Well, now we know how to gash. That's why he's not allowed to use sharp objects anymore.
That's it, man. Well, when you're frustrated in the dark and just want to get shit done, yeah, you're gonna cut yourself. All right. So, ladies and gents, I appreciate y'all stopping by, and yep, this was We'll call this the dress rehearsal. All right. So, and you guys, thank you for stopping by. Y'all have yourselves a great night.